We need a lot of help in couples therapy this week because I tried to do what you said. I gave her a compliment, and what did she do? She corrected me and told me that I was doing it wrong. That's your problem. You're always getting so defensive. I wasn't trying to criticize you. I was just highlighting that we weren't following the compliment approach like Dr. Wyatt told us to. Okay, let me summarize what I'm hearing you guys say. So you gave her the compliment like we talked about, but when you gave it to her, it wasn't in the method that we talked about. But then you provided feedback that that wasn't the correct method. Then you got defensive because she was criticizing your attempt to compliment her, and you got frustrated because you were just trying to show him the right way to do it so that you guys could get more effective. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. All I was trying to do was show him that's not the way Dr. Wyatt told us to do the compliment so that we could get better at those compliments. But instead, he immediately got defensive like he always does. Yeah, I got defensive because you're always criticizing me. Even when I make an attempt, you highlight how it's not right, it's not correct, that I'm doing it wrong again, and it's always my fault. What I'm hearing is that both of you had innocent intent. You both had tender emotions and motivations for what you did, but then it got met with a harsh reaction from your partner, and that's what made you upset. So, John, for you, it sounded like your heart was in the right place. You're just trying to give her a compliment, like we talked about. You're trying to do your best, and then when it was met with her correction, that hurt your feelings. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. It did hurt my feelings because I was just trying to compliment her, but instead of her appreciating my effort, it was immediately met with correction. And then, Sally, for you, it sounds like your feelings also got hurt because your heart also was in the right place. You're just trying to remind him of the correct way that we learned the complimenting method, and you're just trying to remind him of the proper approach so that you guys could do it correctly so that it could strengthen your marriage. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. I wasn't trying to criticize you. I was just trying to highlight that's not how we learned it so that we could do it the correct way so that it could strengthen our relationship. And it did hurt my feelings because I was just trying to help. Okay, good. So instead of expressing all the anger and bickering and wasting your energy, it could go so much better if you just start out with your tender underbelly, what you were feeling underneath the anger. So your feelings were hurt because you're just trying to give a compliment and it was met with correction. And your feelings were also hurt because you weren't trying to criticize. You're just trying to highlight how this is not how we learned to do it. So both of your hearts were innocent, but it was met with a strong reaction and it hurt your feelings. But instead of expressing your hurt feelings, you expressed anger, and now we're just arguing about it. And it highlights both of your growth areas. John, would you agree that one of your growth areas we talked about before is getting defensive and how that got stirred up for you here? Yeah, I would agree with that. And Sally, would you agree that based on what we've talked about before, you can have a tendency to correct or find fault or find the flaw in what's going on with John? Yeah, that sounds right. All right, good. So let's try this again without all the anger, and this time talk about your tender underbelly, the feelings you had, and talk about the parts you can own. Okay, well, it hurt my feelings that I was trying to provide a compliment, and the first thing I received back was a correction instead of appreciation for my attempt. And I own that I tend to get defensive, and I definitely got defensive in our argument, and I apologize for that. Thanks. And what hurt my feelings is that I was just trying to help us do it the right way, like we were taught. But when I pointed out the right way, I felt like it was immediately met with defensiveness, and that hurt my feelings. And I also own that I tend to point out faults, and I can see how it would have appeared I was doing that in this conversation. And so I'm sorry for that. Good job, guys. That's so much better. You started off being angry with each other, blaming each other, but now you both identified your tender underbelly and that you both were feeling very similarly, and you each owned your tendency that got triggered in this interaction. That's the way you're going to solve conflicts moving forward. So try to remember the lessons you just learned here. I'm Dr. Wyatt. Follow for more and check out the free resources in my bio link.